It just seems like you're fighting battles on like every front potentially with crypto PR.
Crypto PR is you've got to understand finance. You've also got to understand tech. We've seen the emergence of DAOs, so there's another level of on-chain governance that you have to keep up with as well. We've got to keep up with crypto Twitter because that's where all the dialogue and all the communication is happening. And we have to track all the tracking sites, which is, as I said, there's the CoinGecko, DeFi Llama, Nansen, so all the data analytics sites. Also keep updated on the community gatherings because that adds that community element, the meetups or, conferences like ETHDenver or like ETHCC, for example, in the Ethereum community. Yeah, I think there's a saying, it could take years to build up your brand and your reputation, but it could take seconds to take it all down.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Edge Podcast. I'm DeFi Dad from Fourth Revolution Capital. I'm joined here by my co-host from 4RC Nomadic. Today we've got a very unique interview cooked up for you. This hopefully will be a great resource for crypto startup founders who are seeking guidance on PR, aka public relations. Crypto is filled with highs and lows, and the lows can be insanely dramatic with billions of dollars at risk, sometimes lost in seconds. For teams that are looking to build a brand and create a credible, positive brand versus those that are managing a crisis like a smart contract bug or exploit that could ultimately end their protocol overnight, there are a few experts in the crypto industry who have the crypto native experience to provide PR services. So today we'll be interviewing one of those subject matter experts, Samantha Yap of YAP Global. Nomadic, what are you excited to talk to Samantha about today?
There's actually tons of things. To be honest, like PR's been a bit of a black box for me, and it's something I don't think about very often until we obviously get one of those exploits, hacks, or some sort of crisis emerges. And I kind of never really thought about who's kind of working and kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes on those incidents. So I think I would just love to navigate with Samantha, kind of walk us through one of those incidents and what is her expertise that helps guide protocols and founders through those events?
Yeah, what's really interesting here and what we're going to talk about is there's a big difference between what we know as PR in other industries and what PR is in crypto. I think per usual, it requires expertise from lots of different industries or sectors in order to be good at it in the crypto space. Whether you're a trader, farmer, analyst, or newbie, you can trade smart with KYBERSWAP, the OG decentralized exchange and aggregator on 13 chains. Swap at the best rates, farm with real yields, set limit orders, use their proprietary trading and AI tools with the best UX in DeFi, securely and permissionlessly. Get better rates, better opportunities, better alpha, and a better trading experience. Trade smart now at KYBERSWAP.com. G-Trade by Gains Network is a decentralized leverage trading platform allowing users to synthetically trade crypto, forex, stocks, and commodities with up to 1000x leverage. G-Trade is live on both Polygon and Arbitrum, with over 30 billion in all-time trading volume and nearly 50 million in vault liquidity. The platform has consistently been among the top earning protocols, with 7-figure monthly revenue and a net deflationary token. G-Trade has become an on-chain staple for both traders and yield seekers. Check them out at gains.trade or by searching Gains Network on Twitter. The future of Web3 is bright, but crypto startups, DAOs, and on-chain organizations can't scale without tooling to power world-class financial and payment operations. Introducing Utopia, your all-in-one platform to create, execute, and understand your Gnosis-safe transactions. Execute payroll 10x faster through automated payment plans. Coordinate reimbursements and accounts payable through payment requests. Execute multi-sig transactions faster with your global team through signing links. View, label, and categorize all of your safe transactions in one place. Start managing your on-chain payments today by going to utopialabs.com. To get started with gasless payments, message Utopia's co-founder on Twitter at 0xkaito. So before we get started, let's give just a brief bit of background on Samantha. So she is the founder and CEO of YAP Global. a crypto-focused PR firm. As a former broadcast journalist and producer, Samantha built YAP Global to be the bridge between the very complex cryptocurrency industry and mainstream press. Since establishing YAP Global in 2018, Samantha has grown the team globally with hubs in London, South Africa, and Singapore. Previously, she launched the YAPcast, which is their podcast, and the Context, which is their newsletter. Her current and past clients include a who's who of household brands in the crypto industry, including Lido, ENS Labs, Frax Finance, Gitcoin, and ETHDenver. So on that note, Samantha, welcome to The Edge. We're excited to have you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks so much for shedding light on an important topic. And, hope that this will be useful for your audience and people that need to hear how to handle comms behind the scenes.
If you've never worked with a PR agency, if you've never managed PR inside of a company, it can sound a little bit intimidating, but really it's storytelling, right? You're this sort of master storyteller. I'll say you're a master storyteller at least. I don't know if you're too humble to say it, but you're a master storyteller and you advise other DeFi, Web3, crypto teams how to tell their story. The thing is there's a lot that's out of your control. You could be in a bear market, and so telling that story becomes much more challenging and different than during a bull market. And of course, you've got the highs when you launch a token to the lows of having some sort of catastrophic exploit that brings the protocol to its knees. So before we get started, then maybe we just talk a bit about your background. I mentioned here that you are a former broadcast journalist and producer. I don't know if there's anything more that you can share about basically what you did before and then what prompted you to start YAP Global.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in journalism. I worked as a journalist in Singapore, broadcast journalist covering current affairs and, politics and humanities. And so I did that for 2 years, and then I freelanced as a reporter. So storytelling was what I did every day, and also keeping up with the news is what I did every day. Then I got introduced to crypto in 2017, so that's when I entered. And I remember at the start of the year, Bitcoin was just 3,000, and Ethereum, hadn't even hit. It was 150, per ETH. So it hadn't even grown to where we've seen it today. So I was very fascinated about Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer payment system, but also just how this technology could transform money. So that's actually what got me interested in crypto in the first place. And then YAP Global actually grew, I would say accidentally, because I saw a need for communicators. I started going to meetups I moved to London, and I started attending the Ethereum London meetups, and I started seeing all the, actually I think they're now the OG ETH developers, but I was very fascinated by what they were saying, but to be honest, I didn't fully understand everything they were saying, but I knew that they were building something good. So I approached one of them, and I looked at their website. So this was a Swiss crypto brokerage firm. And I was like, you have a really great, you're building something great here, but your blog isn't, you could do better with your blog. And so that's when I started, providing them with support, with telling their story in a better way, or in a way that's easy for their target audience to understand. So yes, that's a bit about my background and how YAP Global started. But back to what you were saying about PR, because for some people that could be quite an intimidating term. A good way to look at PR is actually about your just your presence, your perception with people, just your image. So in addition to storytelling, that's how you get there, through good, effective storytelling. But ultimately, it's about maintaining, your trust and credibility. We like to throw that word around, but it's trust for your brand, your image, and also credibility to ensure that you're putting your best foot forward, and people are able to know that they can trust your product or trust your brand or trust you as an individual. So that's what I would say PR is about.
I love that origin story too. It parallels mine very closely, I would say. So similar cohort, 2017.
I didn't realize that. So we're all 2017 cohort, and
Really? You guys seem like you're more OGs.
well, I think like that's like 6 years now. Yeah, that's 6 years ago now, which is wild. Time flies.
we pride ourselves on building trust and credibility behind our names. You know, you could say we're a bit of PR experts ourselves, you know.
There you go. But there you go. Because, and I think you do build that trust and credibility because you can actually, when you look back on, because, you know, yeah, DeFi Dad, I've been following kind of your podcast since you launched it in the early days, but, you know, you were early in finding the right projects, and I trust that, you know, what you were putting out is coming from a credible source. So,
well, I appreciate that. Samantha, it might be you, my mother, and maybe like 50 other people that are maybe nomadic here, listen to a few of those podcasts. But
to be honest, like the first time I ever entered a liquidity pool, it was after watching a DeFi Dad tutorial. So he taught me how to degen into my first LP. So yeah, I think it'd be great if, Samantha, you could give us a kind of a holistic overview of what kind of services you provide at YAP Global.
yeah, so we are currently, we mainly specialize in strategic communications. However, we are also supporting teams now with a bit of marketing and social media. But the main bulk of our work is public relations and communications and the strategy behind that. So that's where the real storytelling comes in. And so what we do is we provide strategic counsel on a daily basis. And a lot of PR is also, you know, thinking about what you need to say in the current climate that you're in. So we are talking at a time where, you know, the Silicon Valley Bank is, you know, there's a collapse of that, and then that's led to a domino effect of other banks being affected. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So for example, maybe our clients that are in the trading and market making, you know, side of things in crypto, people want to look for experts to comment on, okay, what does this mean for crypto? What are the implications for crypto? So that's, you know, we provided counsel to our clients there to go, okay, Bloomberg or a journalist from Financial Times would like to know what this means, and it's good to maybe build maybe share something factual, but also maybe encouraging or reassuring for the market if it's going to go well. So that's what we provide. Because sometimes in moments of crises and turbulence, and even this year we're in the middle of a bear market, people want a bit of reassurance or even just to understand what's going on, to get some direction. You know, and we'll touch more into like even hacks. Like people just want to know that they're going to be okay, or their funds are going to be okay. And so it's always important that in moments of crises as well, and in moments where the market is very volatile, or even right now in the bear market, people are constantly looking for direction. So they want to hear from experts, and especially with, you know, we mainly specialize in crypto clients, but I think our crypto clients are experts on the industry. And so the media also do look to them to go, all right, well, what are you guys seeing? What do you think is going to happen? What should people, you know, feel or think or do with regards to crypto? So again, it comes down to that like trust element. It's all about trust and the perceptions of where you are.
Samantha, maybe then we should level set with, how do you think about the difference between PR in other industries versus PR in crypto?
Yeah, that's really interesting because, you know, my background as a journalist before getting really interested in Bitcoin and what it could do for the future of money, I actually didn't have a financial background. I didn't have a financial background, and I also didn't have a tech background. But when, you know, you enter crypto, and I think you guys are on this journey with me because we started at the same time, it was like a explosion of, oh my gosh, I have to understand the 101 of finance, the basics of finance. I'm still constantly reading up about finance, even right now. And then also with technology is understanding how tech works, Even right now, as we speak, there's this different infrastructure tooling happening that's laying the foundations for applications to be built on crypto. So crypto PR you've got to understand finance. You've also got to understand tech. And then in addition to that, there's another layer where, we've seen the emergence of DAOs. So there's another level of on-chain governance that you have to keep up with as well. So I like to use this analogy or this example. Facebook and Amazon, when they grew, they didn't have a community of token holders that they needed to communicate to. Yes, they would have had shareholders, but it wasn't public. But now with DAOs that are growing and have grown these large treasuries, they have to not just think about comms externally, but they have to think about comms internally to their token holders, and it's all transparent. It's all for the world to see, and that's quite daunting. So there's many aspects to crypto, and another thing that crypto PR people compared to more mainstream or general PR pros have to do is we don't just have to keep up with the market and the prices. We've got to keep up with crypto Twitter, because that's where all the dialogue and all the communication is happening. And we have to track all the tracking sites, which is, as I said, there's the CoinGecko, DeFi Llama, Nansen, so all the data analytic sites that you could track. And then you've got to also keep updated on the community gatherings, because that adds that community element, the meetups or and the conferences. So that adds another layer of, okay, news and talks happen at conferences like ETHDenver or like ETHCC, for example, in the Ethereum community. And now you're seeing other conferences emerge for different ecosystems like NEAR or even Web3 conferences and gaming conferences. Like, I know that Axie Infinity held one last year. So there's a lot to keep up with in crypto PR. So
yeah, that's wild. After just kind of listening to all that, it just seems like you're fighting battles on like every front potentially with crypto PR. And the thing that I like think of now, like kind of a realization as you're talking to, is just you touched on the social media aspect, but I see this day in and day out, how quickly public perception now changes due to this emergence of social media, like, which is in every fabric of our life now. And I feel like, somebody can get canceled in seconds, minutes. A protocol can actually just go right off a cliff in under an hour if things aren't handled appropriately. Like, if that kind of like mind virus spreads, like, oh, this is bad, so we should all think it's bad now. Can you just like touch in like any more about how pivotal like staying on top of social media comms is? It just seems like wild to me.
Yeah, communications. This is the strategy side. So when you say social media, I think, actually Twitter is maybe the first place people put their statements and then make sure they issue a blog post, but it will usually break on Twitter, right? So comms is absolutely important. And I think there's a saying, it could take years to build up your brand and your reputation, but it could take seconds to take it all down. So in terms of advice for founders and projects, it's interesting because, over the last 2 years, even from when DeFi summer kind of exploded to where we are now, because last year there was heaps of crises and hacks, we would get contacted by projects and founders when they need to deal with crisis comms. But by then it's too late. So it's too late. You've got to have a crisis comms plan before that. But the interesting thing, and I think, founders might not know this and not be prepared, is it's an afterthought. When things are going well, it's like, why should you think of anything going wrong? But it's kind of part of maybe even risk management, having a plan for when things don't go well. Because once the project reaches out to us, it's like, well, sorry, we really can't help you, and we don't want to be cleaning up, reputations. We want to be with you. And yes, if something happens, we would have a plan. We would be around. We call in, if say there was a huge crisis or one of our clients got hacked, there would be all hands emergency meeting. There would be a statement being drafted, put out, and we can touch on the details a little bit more. But communications and public relations and your reputation is actually really important. And you've got to make plans and be prepared if something wrong happens to make sure you maintain your reputation, because you've worked so hard for the last few years to build it up, right? So I think it's something that maybe some founders think it's an afterthought.
When we all got into crypto in 2017, this was especially devalued. At the time, it was the crypto was a world that was, dominated and still is dominated by the personalities of founders. There were, the crypto influencers that, play a hand in all of this, but you didn't hear much about marketing, business development type folks. And I think that after DeFi summer especially, we saw this real emergence of those sorts of roles becoming more common. And I think you've made the point that when things are good, it's not a time to let your guard down. Just like if you're a developer, you should obviously always be concerned about the potential for an exploit. And that's probably why the future is some real-time monitoring of potential exploits happening in code like that versus the way that we kind of do it today. Similarly, with PR, it's something that should be thought about at all times. And, if your budget's big enough and you've grown a team, this is a role that I think deserves that full-time attention. Samantha, then, in terms of PR, we're starting to talk through some examples here of real life teams and newsworthy events. Do you have a framework in mind that you could share, something high level that could be applied to, any crypto team or startup in terms of PR?
Yeah, I do. So, because I've seen a lot, and I've seen, we've worked with a lot. So, yeah, as I said, sometimes PR and comms and marketing can be an afterthought because, the tech is the most important thing that takes the most time. So a lot of teams that they work to build their product, and then they've got the test net and then the main net launch. And so all of the focus, perhaps maybe on the founders and even the CTO, is on building the tech, hiring for that. But I think concurrently, I do recommend founders should think about hiring a marketing and comms person. So the difference between marketing and comms and PR is, so you need someone on the broader strategy side to ensure that the branding on the website is aligned with the messaging when you're communicating to the media. So that's what the PR and comms person would do. And then marketing would be, everything from events to social media to, being present at conferences and even if you want to spend on sponsorships. So that's what on the, marketing side. So I do recommend that teams hire those two people first before they engage a PR agency. So if you have a marketing manager, actually that's enough to engage a PR agency. But just we recommend that there should be someone in between us and the founder. Not because we love talking to founders, and some founders still join our PR calls, which make the communications more effective. But there should be a liaison, because what we know that founders are super busy. They raise money, they need to talk to investors, they need to manage the teams, and they've got to also be the figure. So there should be a marketing manager or a comms manager in between. And I think that's a recommendation for that, because that's often an afterthought. And the other challenge is, and I'm speaking for that, as I just shared how complicated crypto PR and comms is, let alone marketing. It's often hard to find the talent, even for us. So that will take a bit of time. So that's something that we recommend kicking off. But it is very important to building your brand and building recognition.
Samantha, let's use a real life example then. Euler Finance was recently exploited for a majority of the value that was in their smart contracts. I want to say it was close to like 200 million, just depending on like how you price it based on the market prices that day. How would you approach the crisis that they've been under? And maybe you can give some analysis of what they've done well versus things they could have done better.
As I said before, when a crisis hits, social media, Twitter is a very important platform for you to communicate what's going on to your users and to your followers. I did see that the Peck Shield, the security data security company, the blockchain data security company, they flagged the transaction first. And I did see a retweet of that. But what would have been better is if from the Euler account there was a statement that outlined, and just alerted their users that, hey, we've just discovered that there's been a vulnerability or a hack, and this is what we're looking at, and we are looking into this. And I would also, in addition to adding that you're looking into this, is also add maybe an action for the users. Sometimes in a hack and exploits that I've seen a few over the last 2 years, but users want to know, okay, what should I do? Is it, to take your money out, or to block any other transactions, or, what's the action here? If say a protocol got hacked, it's like, oh, hey, take your deposits out. People just want an action or want instruction on what to do, and then maybe a line of reassurance. So that's what I would have recommended. I know they're handling it the best they can. I'm not sure about their comms team. But I also checked their website, because it's been, I think from when it happened, it's been the weekend. Usually teams would issue a blog post outlining the details, like everything that's been going on, just to be transparent and to share what's going on. And I don't see one. But this is just at the time of us speaking. I mean, if we're going to draw a parallel as well to, I don't want to take away from Euler, but even we're talking at a time where UBS has just acquired Credit Suisse. Actually, we just go on UBS website and Credit Suisse website, they have press releases with all the details. So that, that's run at a large bank corporate level. But that's what team should do in a situation like this.
I think what you're hitting on is you have to assume that people are not going to help themselves, that they are busy, they have short attention spans, and you have to put out that information in the most digestible format in as many places as possible. Honestly, that's part of how I have personally operated in terms of making DeFi content. My assumption is that no one gives a shit about me. No one is going to go out of their way to find or discover or learn about things that I put out. And so I have to put out podcast format, tutorials. I have to find ways to go to other podcasts to get the word out about this is what DeFi is and why you should learn about it. This is part of the reason when we record an Edge podcast, we make 60-second clips. We do everything possible to make it fun, easy, and of course, interesting to absorb that information, whether it's putting emojis all over it and text and captions and things like that. And so anyways, those lessons have to be applied to your PR strategy. Whether you're, again, in good times or bad times, just assume no one gives a shit about you. So you better work really hard to get their attention.
Yes, that's really the trick. Yeah, that is the trick, and it's also reiterating it over and over again. I think more tweets, the better, actually. The more more messages and more times you're repeating yourself. Yeah, and I think that's another thing. I think sometimes teams and founders think, oh yeah, but we've already put out an explainer about this. But people are busy and the space is noisy. There's so many other projects and so many different pockets of the sector to pay attention to. You've got to make it, so easy for you're again who you're after. If you want to talk to other projects or other users or VCs or investors, you've got to make it easy for them to understand. But back to the say in a situation of a hack or a crisis, you also have to assume that your users, they're busy. I mean, it's not like everyone is paying attention to. I think projects assume that some of their users pay attention and sit on their protocol 24/7. But no, I mean, naturally founders will for their own projects, but users have they have diverse portfolios of other DeFi assets as well to pay attention to, let alone they also have their jobs. So you have to also assume that they're not going to know or keep track of what's happening.
Hey, Samantha, I want to ask you about a pretty large public blow up that I think anybody in crypto couldn't have missed, and it was the implosion of FTX. But I kind of want to get your take on how you would have managed a VC that was so public and, led a lot of those rounds, such as, let's use Sequoia, for example. I feel like they kind of came out of that pretty battered and bruised. And what would you have done differently, or can you provide any commentary on that?
Yeah, so I guess the questions that everyone's asking now post FTX collapse is whether VCs had done the due diligence. I think in this case there were a lot of big brand name VCs that and even sovereign wealth funds, if I might say, that also got in on deals. So in one sense, everyone's in the same boat. So, SBF and FTX really fooled everyone. I think in terms of communicating, what I know is a lot of VCs, they did put statements writing down the value of their investments, but the way they communicate that is, I guess acknowledgement is always important in a statement to go, hey, if you messed up or if you made a mistake or you let your LPs down, acknowledge it. This is the platform to do that. And then share details on what really happened, and then also just share lessons that you can take away and what they could do to change, because that's really life, right? Like, people make mistakes, and it's acknowledging it, and not trying to hide anything from your LPs or your partners or the public. So I think so. If Sequoia took a bad hit, I think everyone else did as well. But for maybe in a special case for each VC, it just depends on also how much they invested in FTX and how much they lost compared to the other investments they had. So I think also reporting all that, the balance of where their holdings are matters as well.
I think it's crazy how bad a lot of the VCs, and I'll say like notable angel investors, are at PR in this space. They tend to do well for a time. They rise to become the hero, and then many of them ultimately become the villain at some point. And I don't think it's undeserved too. I think that we tend to eventually see a revealing of like someone's true character. Now, in the case of like a Sequoia, this example, I'm not suggesting that anyone there is like a bad person and that they like intentionally invested in a fraudulent founder. SBF fooled everyone. But there is something to be said about coming to grips with just admitting, you screwed up publicly, trying to like take some lesson from that. There's like a humbleness to it. And that humbleness is sort of juxtaposed with, I want to say, a confidence, borderline arrogance that's demanded of investors in this space where you're at the bleeding edge of a technology that a lot of folks don't believe in. Some even think that it's just straight up a scam. And so you're fighting to be relevant. You're fighting to make others believe in this future that you're investing in. And so, yeah, I personally have at times struggled with why our space doesn't do a better job with PR in terms of these opportunities around crises. But that sort of weakness I'm calling out might be a strength. For me personally, it's definitely in my personality to just say, hey, I screwed up, I was wrong, and like move on from it and learn something from it. But yeah, I thought, for what it's worth, I thought Sequoia just really didn't do themselves any favors. But at the same time, they've got this enormous fund, they've got all the backing in the world, and I'm sure they're not going to struggle, to continue to raise money and invest and do well in the space.
Well, if we're going to, talk more specifically about the crypto industry as well in terms of, how to again, it's about maintaining your reputation, and also, comms and public relations also very personal. Like, people can tell the true colors of someone eventually. And, as much as you want your PR firm and you want your comms team to paint you a strong image, it will show through. So I guess, again, it comes with, how productive is, the work you're doing and, how much value you're bringing to the industry. That matters. In terms of the, maintaining reputation and also like admitting if you've made a mistake and show and demonstrate that you've taken lessons and actions to do better. I think that matters too. So it's not just like putting out a statement and apologizing and going, hey, sorry, I messed up. But it's like, okay, but here's what we're going to do next. And also communicating that, I think people will have a bit more mercy for your product and your brand. It's very interesting because maybe we're PR and I guess you could say I'm also in the business of building up egos, but I don't want to say that. But, everyone has an ego. And everyone, VCs, even founders. But again, I think it's also comms and PR is also about being authentic in your approach. And I think the audience and the media are also, they can easily sniff out whether, you're doing something for financial gain, like just financial gain, or are you genuinely building this technology and this protocol or this project because you want to see this grow. So it's just how do you, portray that authenticity and also communicate what you're doing.
With over 170 million TVL cross-chain, the multi-chain liquid staking protocol Stader Labs is just about to launch the ETH liquid staking token ETHX. ETHX will give you the best of decentralized staking and DeFi yields. What's more is that anyone can permissionlessly run an ETHX node with just a 4 ETH bond. To get more alpha on the ETHX launch, go to staderlabs.com/Ethereum. With over 60,000 subscribers and 450 integrations, Push Protocol, the leader in Web3 communications, just launched Push Group Chat. While Push Chat already enables secure and private wallet-to-wallet messaging between any wallet addresses, the new Push Group Chat allows anyone to permissionlessly create groups, share files, and collaborate with communities natively on Web3. Try it now at app.push.org. Samantha, you started to talk about, obviously that there are egos that are like a really common trait in the founders that, are in this space. Actually, founders in general, you have to have an ego to want to build something that others don't believe in or know about yet.
Yeah.
But from a PR perspective then, what are some of the common mistakes that you see crypto founders making? What are some of those that would be like red flags to potentially avoid?
Yeah, I guess I can share candidly. So I think when we when we talk to projects before they engage us, and we kind of ask what their wish list is, and they want to get on Forbes, or they want to get on Wall Street Journal or Financial Times, it is a red flag for us, because we're like, okay, you've just raised a Series A, or you've just raised a seed round. Why do you want to get a Wall Street Journal? Actually, if right now, to get a Wall Street Journal, it'll be a negative story about crypto. It'll be something investigative, or it would be, you wouldn't be put in a good light, because you have to also read the market and read where we're at right now. So actually, if I would to advise for any projects who are maybe trying to stay away from regulatory spotlight, or stay away from any negative sentiment, you don't want to get on Financial Times or Wall Street Journal right now. So that's a red flag, aiming too high on the publications. What we would advise is ensuring that. So another red flag I would say is, or not red flag, but something that we've seen founders make, is patience. PR actually is a long game. So PR is different to marketing, where in a sense where with marketing, you can actually see the direct results. If you want to, get numbers, you want growth, you want social media, shares, and or you want an event, you can actually see that tangibly. But PR is all about, your strategy, your long-term strategy of how you want to build that trust over a year. As I said, it takes years to build up trust and credibility and your reputation. It also takes time to build relationships with journalists, to make sure that journalists, know who you are. They talk to so many different projects and founders and interview many different people every day. So they're not going to think about you 24/7, but it's just constantly reminding them that you're present anytime, they're looking for market commentary, or they need an expert to tell us, where the market is right now. So it takes time to build relationships. So yeah, red flags, unrealistic goals, and also lack of patience or understanding about what PR can do for you. And yeah, I think also, I think back to what I was saying, people are gunning for growth. When things go really well, they just want to grow and add on, but you've got to think about also maintaining your reputation. So making sure that, you've got a crisis comms plan in place. And I think, DeFi Dad, you had a good example about, even when you're coding, your developers, they still have to make sure you're also kind of checking your code constantly. And so I think another mistake is, just not realizing that you've got to upkeep your current, comms plan and strategy and messaging.
I almost want to talk a bit about avoiding drama, just running from attention-seeking types of events. This is something that I don't know if this is some secret sauce to, and I'll probably get burned now that I'm actually saying this out loud and get caught up in some sort of scandal. But I have personally done everything to avoid and run away from major conflict in this space, whether it's personal or with teams. I avoid drama. When I see it, I don't feel prompted to comment on it, which is not what I think is the most common approach in the crypto space. I think people see conflict, they see drama, and they run at it like a house on fire to comment and share what they think of what's going on. I tend to do a bit of the opposite. Is that advice that you ever give to clients you work with? Is there a strategy there to just staying away from the big news events, building quietly, thinking about this as a marathon, where, again, we're looking to build trust and credibility over the long term versus a very short term?
Yeah. Yes, we do advise our clients because, one of the things we do when we onboard a client is we do a competitor analysis. And it can get quite tempting, actually, sometimes. Everyone cares about their competitors. And whenever the competitors do something, it does elicit this emotion oh, look, they've done that. Should we do that too? But then, you don't want to chase out, you're building your thing and everyone should stay in their lane in one sense, and just continue building what they're doing. In terms of the the drama and the conflict, it depends. It depends on whether it's productive and sustainable, and if it's not, and if it's a waste of time, then yeah, don't. But if, say, if a project has been put in a position where it does need to comment on the differences of their product offering, then there is a way to do that subtly and in a professional and a productive way. But I think for you, for example, staying more neutral and also focusing on the long-term growth is the best approach, because yes, drama, conflict, yes, that gets attention, but it's a short-term attention grab. But you've spent years building up your brand and the credibility of this podcast and your profile, and you don't waste it on a conflict or a drama or anything if it's not productive and so basically that's my recommendation. I think that's it. I think again, on the competitor front with our clients who maybe sometimes want to comment, there's a way we do it subtly, actually. So I can share a few more secrets. So what we do is we media monitor for our clients, but we also media monitor for our clients' competitors. So if their competitor maybe has put out an offering and maybe beat our client to it, what we'll do is we might approach that journalist and go, hey, I know you just recently wrote a story about this market maker, but have you seen what these guys are doing, and kind of insert them in. So you can actually use your agency, like us, behind the scenes to insert your story or your message in. So I think that's a good subtle way to do it, and it's fair, because journalists, they're not going to write about one company every single week. They want to have a variety, right? For example, there's many L2s out there, and so for a journalist, maybe at CoinDesk, that's covering the ecosystem or L2 beat, they want to cover a few, right? So it's just about how you get your name in, and actually PR is a good subtle way to perhaps, I'm not saying address drama, but maybe share your voice or share your view of what's going on, or even just get your message and word out there. It's interesting, because I know it's a race, like not a race, but it is a race for attention. But you could be building your, I don't know, stablecoin project or your L2, and then you see your competitor get all this press because they've just shipped something, and it can get a bit distracting because they'd be like, oh, we're building that. But again, it's all about encouraging people to stay in their lane, and there's a way to subtly get your time to shine when you're ready to ship your product too.
So liquid staking is something that's been really top of mind for Nomadic and me. We got to interview Rocket Pool not too long ago. You work with Lido, which is undeniably the industry leader right now in terms of ETH liquid staking, and also actually, I guess, generally across multi-chain staking, without, of course, sharing anything confidential. Any lessons to offer up in that space about how do you stand out in liquid staking when it's so important that they, of course, don't ultimately get exploited or somehow compromise the security of their protocol, which is controlling an enormous amount of ETH. So anyways, how do you think about PR in the liquid staking space?
So without sharing too many details, but when you're working with the industry leader, I think again it boils down to the technology and the mission and the vision behind the project. So it's important to push that forward, because ultimately, it's why is ETH staking so important? Why is that? And then sharing more transparently about what the team is actually doing and what they're driving, and getting relevant spokespeople out to share about what they're building. That's the most important thing, because when you're working with a leader, they're the pioneers. They're pioneering this industry in this field. So I think again, a recommendation on building trust and credibility is always stay on the course of your mission and your vision for the business and the company or the protocol. So that's what I would say. That's a recommendation. I just try to think a lot of what we're doing, and even what you're doing as well, is we're actually advocating for the industry. So there's a lot of it's tempting to maybe debate amongst each other, and maybe there's the crypto, as you said, maybe drama, but maybe infighting that isn't actually very productive for the industry. So it's important to remind everyone why we're here. We're trying to bring crypto to mainstream adoption. We want more people to adopt crypto. We want, like Lido, for example, wants more people to, get into ETH staking or stake their ETH. And so that's the mission. And all the content and the messaging that should come out of that should be, educational, informative, and, if there's a new product that, for example, like Lido recently launched their V2, then it should focus on that. And I think we have to remember that we are here working to advocate for crypto. And if we're gonna talk about PR right now, for the whole entire industry, crypto has taken a huge hit. The Terra collapse, the FTX collapse, everything that's happened over the last year has really hit on the stigma and crypto's reputation. So we have to remember that we're all here working together to continue to inform, educate, and share more about the technology and why it's so important, and also why it's so foundational to the future of money. Because even right now, when we're also sitting in a time where there's been multiple bank runs, so this is one of the largest, traditional financial crashes or collapses, or crises, I would say, since 2008. So yeah, the future of money is at stake. Crypto's reputation is also at stake, and so that's something to remind everyone about. That's what I would say to that. Hope that answers your question.
No, absolutely. And I've got one more example for us to apply your PR expertise before we wrap up. Recently, the very famous former CTO of Coinbase, and God forgive me, I'll never be able to pronounce his name correctly, but I always say Balaji or Balaji. Forgive me, sir, if you hear me mispronounce your name in the future. He made a very bold public bet, and it started, I believe, on Twitter, and he's been talking about it on podcasts and Twitter Spaces. He made a bet that we would enter hyperinflation to the degree that Bitcoin would be worth $1 million in 90 days. And he's made like a public bet, as in like he's put up the money, I think, in Polymarket. So the money's there in like a smart contract. And that number, of course, has people just like losing their minds. First, it's like a price target that a lot of people in the crypto space would love to see happen. But the idea someone put up $1 million, even though he's worth $1.5 billion, and it's equivalent to him like basically buying a cocktail, putting up $1 million is like nothing to him. I'm curious, do you think of this as a PR stunt? What do you think of it in general? Because I think it demonstrates the virality of being in the crypto space, and it sort of touches on a lot of the things we've talked today in terms of PR in crypto.
Yeah, actually, I like to turn to the 7 news values, or what makes news or what grabs attention. So we talked about it before, but one is conflict. And then one is like something that's bizarre or out of the ordinary. So I would say, Balaji's bit signal kind of tweet and bet is in that box. And then third would be impact. So anything that has a large impact, maybe the Euler finance hack would be well, depends how many people are impacted. Could it be just a few wallets that had a lot of money? So yeah, impact matters. I would say, for example, the FTX collapse was, basically top of the list in terms of impacting the world. Then there's impact. There's also timeliness. So timing matters. When like, for example, right now you're starting to see stories of Bitcoin price hitting 28K. We've been here before. Whenever the Bitcoin or Ethereum price goes up or down, you start seeing these market analysis stories. So timeliness matters. So what's trending matters. So even this year, I mean, regulation's been trending. But then in the tech space, zero knowledge been around. Zero knowledge tech's been around for years, but it just happens to be trending this year because people are the tech has maybe reached a peak. So I would say even right now AI is trending. So what's trending makes news. And so I've gone through 5, and then the others are prominence. So who you like. So actually, Balaji making this bet, it's because people know who he is and he's got this large following. But if I made that bet, no one would care, right? It's not like I had $1 million to make a bet. So yeah, prominence. So who is involved in the story matters. And then the 7th is human interest. So the human interest matters. That's what I said. Okay, so that's the 7 values. So yeah, I'm just going through them. But anyway, the 7 these values, and so human interest is the 7th one, where I think people still want to hear real life stories of someone's life who's been impacted, whether it be positively or negatively. That's why when you see the New York Times or stories that come out about crypto, maybe in the mainstream press, they usually have a personal element to it. When the peak happened, it was like you saw stories of a 19-year-old who made X million from Dogecoin, like those kind of stories. That makes news. So yeah, just something to think about. So yeah, back to this. So back to Balaji's bet. It's yeah. There is a morality to it because it's bizarre. Like people think it's crazy. But that's how it got so much attention as well. So yeah, it's how you play it. But yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but who knows what could happen? I mean, everything's been so unpredictable lately.
I've definitely found myself thinking more that it's genius. Like, and it's not a surprise because he's just a very smart person. He's one of the few people in the world who I actually believe is smarter than others. It's not just a subject matter expertise that he's gained over time. He is just that much smarter than folks. And I think that it's still very unlikely that the bet plays out, but he's gotten a lot of attention for it. I would say it's mostly positive in this space. If you sort of analyze it, like what negatives could come from it, you're not going to have anyone in the Bitcoin community upset at him for saying that he thinks Bitcoin's going to 1 million. In the greater crypto space, most people see the markets as being correlated. So there's another positive sort of checked off. You might have a few folks who think it'll bring unwarranted criticism of the space. I'm definitely somewhere like in the middle. I see it as what it is. It's a positive. He's brought all this attention he's brought all of this attention to the idea that crypto, Bitcoin specifically, will be a store of value, safe haven, in really sort of like remarkably unstable financial conditions. But he definitely is getting a lot of negative attention from outside the space. But when you look at someone like him too, given his net wealth, given how much Bitcoin he likely owns, which is, I'm guessing, he either has hundreds of millions, if not over 1 billion in Bitcoin. You add it all up, and again, it's kind of like a master class on using PR to get the word out about something you believe in.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's good marketing. I mean, his tweet I heard got, a lot of engagement. So that's why timing also matters. And the timing is brilliant. Like, he said it at a time when, you've just seen, the large Swiss bank, Credit Suisse, be acquired by UBS at a time where the whole market is in chaos. So the timing also matters. So that's another lesson to know in PR and marketing. There is a saying, I'm sure you've heard this, where, any publicity is good publicity, even though there may be negative press. Sometimes it's just the noise and the attention that a tweet or a message or a story gets. It does help. It does help bring awareness to it. So again, it depends how you want to play it. And I always think also about comms in politics, for example, as well. Like, there's no like, if you're the prime minister or the president, not everyone's gonna like you. There's different parties, and people support different. They have their own beliefs and agendas for what they want to push. So yeah, if you're in a position of leadership, and that's also something for founders to know, if you're in a position of leadership and you're in a position of power as well, you're gonna get negative, press as well. You just gotta make sure that the positive press is louder than the negativity you're getting.
Well, Samantha, I think this is a great place for us to go ahead and wrap. Thank you, so much for taking the time to, talk us through all these like real life examples and like lessons and frameworks we can apply to PR and crypto. If folks want to learn more about you and your team and follow your work, what would you recommend?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Samantha W Yap, and then we've got a Twitter account at YAP Global Team, so you can actually see the work we do. And then our website, we've got a contact form where if you are interested in inquiring in our services, you can fill that out and we'll get back to you shortly.
Again, thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to share before we go?
No, I just want to, this has been a really great conversation. Thank you so much, DeFi Dad Nomadic, for having me. Just want to encourage everyone, even in this bear market or, when this comes out, that what you're doing now and building your credibility and your comms matters, and just to continue sharing about what your project is doing or what you're building, because when the next bull run happens, it's all going to pay off. So just some encouragement on the PR and comms side.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're building the next great DeFi or Web3 project, please consider reaching out to our team at fourthrevolution.capital. For future episodes of the Edge podcast, please subscribe at our link tree at edge_pod.